Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today we're going to talk about book marketing, hard selling and soft selling, and what that means, and how does that happen? All right, so I do talk about book marketing here on this channel, and a lot of the book marketing I talk about is social media marketing because as indie authors, most of us are selling through Amazon. We're selling through an electronic store. So it behooves us as authors to do electronic marketing. So e-stores, e-marketing. Most of us do not have our books in, say, local bookstores or on, national bookstore shelves in order to be able to participate in off online marketing. So things like putting ads in newspapers or going to festivals and fairs. If one of the tenets of marketing is if you are selling something electronically, you need to be doing your marketing electronically. It's just kind of the name of the game. Like, my dad, who is an absolute sweetheart about this, he loves my books. He wants to go to this like car convention and he wants to make up this sign and about my books with like a little QR code on it so that they can scan it and go, check out my books at a car convention. And I'm like, Dad, it's a really great thought. And I understand that we have our phones in our pockets, so we are carrying the internet in our pockets. But how many people at a car convention are going to be the type of people who are going to want to read biker werewolf novels or sword and sorcery fantasy? I understand it's a crapshoot, and I'm really grateful that you're, willing to do this, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to pay off in the long run. I mean, if he wants to do it, he's more than welcome to. At the same time, I'm not going to be getting my hopes up to become an Amazon bestseller because my dad took the Mini Cooper to a car convention and had a sign in it about my books. Maybe I could be wrong. I'll if he decides he wants to do it, then I'll help him with the QR code and everything. But so on social media, we hang out in different places, like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Tumblr and Threads now, and there's all sorts of different places on the internet, Reddit and forums and things like that, where we could be selling our books to people that we hope will be like-minded enough to want to read our books. And there's two ways to do this. There is the hard sell, and then there is the soft sell. Now, the hard sell is what people generally think of when they think of marketing. All right? You are trying actively to get people to buy your books. So you might be, if you're on YouTube, making a book trailer, or on TikTok, making a book trailer over on TikTok. You might be doing something like making an advertisement with your book. Or you might be doing an entire, social media marketing scheme with skits and costumes and, like little commercials, a whole thing of, year-long marketing campaign where, you're doing things that will eventually bring attention to your book once you have your book in publication. Okay, so you are going out of your way to try and get people, to sell to people, to make a pitch, to have people be interested in your book or in your concept enough to click that button and buy that book. And generally, hard marketing involves a type of call to action. So hit the like and subscribe button is hard marketing. You know, leave a comment is hard marketing. My books are on Amazon. Go to my link tree. That's hard marketing. That type of marketing is what um, people traditionally view as selling. There's also a type of hard marketing that I don't recommend you do, but I have seen enough people do it. I do want to bring it up. I mean, I've even kind of sort of tried it myself and, you know, quickly backed away from it. It is DM marketing, where you will go create like a little sales pitch for your book. You will friend people online and then you will DM them an advertisement for your book. Now there's like two ways you could view this. One way is that you're like, you are just sticking a restaurant menu in a door and taking off, you know, so you're not feeling like you're being overly obnoxious. Or the other way to view it is that you are like popping up in somebody's in a living room and going, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. And um people kind of view this as spam. They view it as rather rude. And a lot of times when authors do this, indie authors do this, they do this because they see other authors doing it. And they don't really like think through how this might be, you know, invasive to somebody's day. I always thought it was a little strange that, you know, I read and write science fiction and fantasy. Why are you sending me an advertisement for a like a military thriller? That's not the type of book I read. And even if you do like your research and you're on a post about, I don't know, choose something, a topic, and people are like, oh, I'd really love a book on said topic. And, you know, you're going through it and you've got a book on that topic. So you decide to DM them to tell them, oh, I've written a book on that topic. A lot of them might not remember that they made this post. You know, they've reblogged this because it was so long ago. So you didn't do your research enough to go, was this within the last week? You know, will they remember reblogging this and saying this? And they'll be very rude to you and they'll be very spammy. You know, they'll think you're being spam, you know, that you're being unsolicited advertising, basically. And, you know, there is a point to that. I mean, that's understandable. Um, there is, when it comes to hard selling, honestly, most people don't like to be advertised to. When they're on social media, especially, they don't get on social media to be advertised by other people. They want it to be, you know, non-commercial, genuine people interactions. As soon as you hop on social media, you're the product. So, you know, people selling products on social media should be like the totally next thing, understandable thing. Every time I hop on social media, I always, because I start remembering why I prefer archives to algorithms. Um, but you know, they want this kind of genuine parasocial relationship, and they don't want you, you know, selling things to them, whether you're making advertisements on Instagram once a week and then doing two other things, or then you're making, you know, a TikTok, so you got 6 TikToks about other things, and the 7th TikTok is about your book. They're not really there for that. Like, they don't want to be advertised to. And for some odd reason, this really gets to a heavy hammer on authors. I don't know why. Because artists, yeah, sure, that's great. You know, we love to see your in progress stuff. We want to see you drawing on live streams. We like tutorials. We want to see the finished product. That's, you know, artists given a free pass. Musicians, to an extent, are also given a free pass about this. And, like, people are like, oh, you know, we get to hear snippets of your music before it comes out, and, you know, things like that. And you know, full songs. And So on the hard selling, the illustrators, the photographers of the world, they got and the musicians of the world, they're allowed to do it. But when it comes to hard selling of books, there's this very kind of weird, I don't know, shame attached to it. So readers, people shame authors for doing it, and then authors feel ashamed of doing it, so they stop doing it. And there's no real great method that I've discovered set up for authors to be able to advertise their books, do a hard sell of their books in a manner that's like easy. Um, for instance, let's say you go to a Reddit or a forum. um, there's like there'll be these kind of unspoken, unwritten rules that you have to be a member of this forum for so long and interact with people so many times and be, a trusted member of the community before you can even mention you have a book. And the only reason why you're there is because you have a book. And, you wouldn't have even known to look for this forum about this certain topic until you had your book. And I find a lot of times these forums that have super niche topics, they're like having the same 5 conversations over and over and over, and I'm like, I'm not here for your same 5 conversations over and over. Like, my conversation is completely different. I wrote a book, and so there's no real place on these Reddits, like no pinned thread, there's no, or a pinned post or a section where, authors who write those topics can come in and be like, do a drive-by advertisement and move on with their lives, because there's like kind of this view almost that anybody can write a book. It's really not that hard. And I'm like, yeah, anybody can write a book if they put their mind to it. And it is really hard. Most people never actually finish a book that they start. So if you finish a book you're way ahead of everybody else. But when you're writing a book, you are spending anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day if you have that time, 2 to 4 after you're, coming home from work, writing. You don't have that time to be spending in social media platforms like Reddit or forums to build your reputation within a community in order to, put an advertisement up for a book that most of them aren't going to purchase anyway because they might have some type of ingrained thing against indie books. I don't know. Or maybe they just don't read. And that's fine. If you're not a reader, you're not a reader. Unfortunately, or maybe you like audiobooks better. Unfortunately, I don't have the facilities or the time to be doing an audiobook of my book. That's why a lot of authors, shovel their audiobooks out to people who do have, studios that can do the work for them and do all the reading and have somebody else doing all the editing to make sure that everything flows well and everything like that. So, hard selling. Traditional advertising, or an advertising campaign with a call to action. So what is soft selling? Now, soft selling is basically what most people who dislike hard advertising want authors to do. It is, you are in a social setting, you're talking about things that mutually interest you, and it comes up that you're an author, and then they ask you, well, what are your books about? Or if you are doing, a video series or something like that, um, you will use your own books as examples or whatever. You will bring up your books naturally. And you're not trying to create this call to action. You're not saying, like and subscribe, or this book is available on Amazon. So if you've been a member of my channel for a while, you're, or not, maybe you've watched a couple videos of mine, you will notice a trend. Okay, my books sit right here behind me on my shelf. Okay, and in itself, that is a form of soft selling. You can see my books when Becca's book is not in front of it, and George. You can see my books, you can kind of see the titles, and you can see my name. So you know, oh, Ginny has written 6 books. It'd probably be better if I pulled them forward more, like so. Yes. If I pulled them forward and had them right here on the edge, you'd probably be able to see them a lot better, but then they do that. And a lot of times when I am doing a video where I'm talking about a certain topic, I will reach back and I will pull out one of these books to use as an example for that topic. And I will explain using my own concept, my own books, what was going on in my head, or, you know, how this works in reality versus, you know, here's a theoretical concept. Now, I have actually not ever read out of my books during a educational video or an edutainment video. I do have the first 3 chapters of this book as an audiobook, but I have not done any more because right now I am on an interstate highway. There is absolutely no way I can get an audiobook that's not going to have highway noises. Like, I have about 50 or more 18-wheeler trucks coming through every single day, and plus the motorcycles and the Amish. There's no way I could get a background. Now, my dad has kind of like, well, you could come out and use the she shed, my mom's library, and then I have to deal with the sound of my people, the lawnmowers. So that has not been high on my priority list of late to continue doing an audiobook of The Lone Prospect. But I will reach back and I will pull out a book, whether, you know, it's my favorite book cover of the series or, you know, The Lone Prospect or whatever, and I will use it as an example. That is a soft sell. That is me going, hey, I'm an author and I have books. Now, the reason why I do this is A, they're my books and I want to talk about them. And B, they are something I know. If I'm talking about myself or my projects or whatever, I know my thought processes and I know, you know, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Usually. Sometimes. Sometimes it's just like a great little accident, like what happened in, you know, books 1 and 3. Sometimes life's little happy accidents, and then we pretend we did it on purpose. So I know what's going on in my head, or I know the reasons why I chose to do this. I mean, why are my books quite so schizophrenic? You know, it's like, you've got pink books and then you've got black books. That's a little weird. You know, I know what I'm like. I know the reasons what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and I can use those books to in those, you know, concepts and thoughts to articulate to you, to edutain you about, you know, different aspects of being an indie publisher or an indie author. And I can't do that with other people's books. Like, there are some books that, you know, I do have on my shelves. Like, I want to do a video, or I have already posted a video using Valdemar, books by Mercedes Lackey. They're all the way over there, so I'd have to get up and go off screen. To explain how cultures interact with each other historically over time. And yeah, so I will, or I know I've used Jim Butcher's books, I've used Harry Potter, I've used, you know, the Mossflower books that are sitting right here behind me. I've pulled different books to talk about different published authors, but I don't know, you know, what's going on inside of their head, or I don't know what's going on in the marketing team's head. Like, I can't tell you the thought pattern behind the book cover. Like, I could tell you the thought pattern behind the book cover of, you know, The Dawn Warrior or The Lone Prospect. You know, Yes, the book is called Lord Brocktree, and it has Lord Brocktree as the character on it. But I can't tell you the artistic mind thoughts behind it because I didn't make it. You know, this is not my book cover. Whereas I do make all my book covers for my books, and I've made the book covers for, you know, the new book covers for Becca's books. So I know the thoughts behind those to be able to explain it. Um, and it is a soft sell, and I have made it a habit to not try to hard sell on this channel. When I first started, I did try to do a little hard selling. You know, I did the whole like and subscribe thing, and I would say that my books were on Amazon, and that, you know, I had the post fiction production guides on my website, which are free. And I want to say where my website was, and, you know, I didn't have a Discord at the time, but I did eventually, you know, add a Discord. And honestly, I got to the point where I felt, look, you are an adult. You have been around YouTube enough to know that if you like a person's channel and you want to be, you know, notified when they get videos, or if you want to help their video in the algorithm, you should know to hit the like button and to hit the subscribe button. Yes, hitting the subscribe button would really help me, because if I had 500 more people, I could become monetized, and then I could make, you know, change off of this off of this thing. You know, I'm not even going to bother with the Patreon until I would have like over 1,000 people. I told my dad, you know, look, when I first started doing this, he wanted to buy me a lot of equipment. And I said, Daddy, I love you, but this could take anywhere from 2 to 5 years for me to get any sort of audience at all, um, especially since I'm not doing 3 videos a week. I don't want you to put all this money into something that might not work out. So let's make a goal, and if I make that goal, then we'll talk about buying, you know, better recording equipment. I mean, I'm making this on a $20 webcam, for God's sakes. So it's um, basically a soft sell is you're bringing things up in conversation with people, and you're not guiding them to Amazon. You're not telling them to like and subscribe. And, you know, it's just, oh, yes, I'm also this. Do with it what you will. And do I make a lot of book sales soft selling? No. I mean, come on. I get 50 views of a video tops. Like, if it's the same people over and over, they're not, you know, 100% here for sword and sorcery fantasy and urban science fantasy with werewolves. You know, like, that's not really what they're here for. But if they like the ideas of those two concepts, then they, you know, can find my website, which, you know, there's a link to it, and you can go to Amazon and type in my name and type in books and find my books there. At this point, I feel that the internet has come to a place where if you are an adult on the internet, if you are under the age of 18, I'm guessing, you know, I forgive you. You might not know how to do that. But if you are an adult on the internet and you know, want to go to Amazon, you will be able to find my books one way or the other. If that means you have to type in my name and then type in the title of the book, or if you know, you can do that. Despite the fact that Amazon has completely buried me in their algorithm, which is, again, why I prefer archives over algorithms. So, you know, I'm not going to do that call to action, because I know even if I do that call to action, I have no control over you. It is up to you to click through all the little links to get to it. And the more links there are, I know the less people are likely to do it. Whereas, if you go over into Google and put in my name and put in books, you're going to get probably both my Amazon page and my website within 30 seconds. So, all right. So there's two types of marketing. Hard marketing, where it is more like traditional marketing. You're making advertisements, you're doing advertising campaigns, and you're doing some type of call to action. You're saying, like and subscribe, and buy my books. My books are here on Amazon. You can buy them from Amazon, or you can go to Nook, or you can go to Barnes & Noble, and you can, online and find my books, okay? This is where you can find them. Versus soft selling is where you pretty much go about your life on the internet and you try to form connections with people, and or you're doing, like me, you do stuff like that's edutainment. And as things progress in your friendship, with parasocial relationships with other people, or if you have a particular topic you want to talk about, you'll bring your books up then, without a call to action, without saying, oh, you can find these here or there, and just talk about your books if they seem interested. And, that is the difference between a hard sell and a soft sell. Now, please don't let anybody shame you about self-promoting. If you, as an author, don't promote your works, nobody else is going to. You can send it to somebody to review, and they might not like it so much that they'll be like, look, I can't review this because it's just not my cup of tea, or other issues, and you really should have sent this to an editor first or something. So sometimes they're going to be nicer than others. It's kind of like getting a query letter rejection, Are they going to be nice, or are they going to vague, or completely unhelpful, or admit that they're not good at their job? You never know. So they might not talk about your books. You can always buy like one of these book review type of tour things. That's possible. You might send your book to somebody and be like, would you read my book? And, be crossing, not give them any like thing about it, but you're hoping if they like your book, they're going to talk about your book, and, because they got a free book, and that's kind of the social contract, and they might not actually follow through on that social contract. So, don't let anybody shame you, because, I've seen indie authors all the time, they're doing their social media stuff, and they're talking about their lives, and they're talking about their mental health stuff, and then they'll, like, suddenly mention they're an author, and people are going to be like, what? You're an author? So they're like, oh, right, I forgot to do a promo this week, and shove up a promo to remind people, or this month, or whatever, look, I'm an indie author, here's my book, please buy my book. Or if you're interested in my book, this is where you can find my book. So only you are the only person who's going to have the passion to consistently promote yourself. And so don't let people shame you, or, act like self-promo, whether it's a hard sell or a soft sell is, bad thing. Artists are allowed to do this, musicians are allowed to do this. You can do it, okay? I hope that kind of made sense. I know I probably rambled off in a few places, but take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless, stay safe. My books are on Amazon. And I'll see you in the next video.